Thank you, Alaska Hirlock, and thank you, Minister, for being here today. I think I'll preface my contribution first by saying that although we obviously need to focus on aftercare and foster care and stuff, we also need to not lose sight of the reasons why people end up in care in the first place, so that we're always looking at prevention as well as the aftermath of that. And I think Senator Siri Carney hit the nail on the head. If we are going to judge and make assessments of how people parent or what they can and can't give their children, we really want to be 100% that when the state steps in to be that other parent, that we're actually going to increase that child's ability to flourish and have positive outcomes and not actually decrease the capacity of that child. And I think that that's something that has always rang true for me. I've been involved in many situations of advocacy as a community worker and somebody working in addiction with women, where we sat down and tried to look at care plans. Tusla's intervention at the time would have been very heavily focused on a parenting course. Now, the situation wasn't that the mother needed a parenting course. It was very much that she was living beyond her means, maybe her conditions, her environment, maybe had experienced trauma throughout her life. There was all these other conditions. Obviously, there's cases of neglect or abuse where you're always going to need a care intervention, but there are many cases where judgments are made, and I often think maybe sometimes at the unconscious bias of social workers that have good intentions but haven't really got the lived experience of living in a community or in a certain cultural environment that they don't understand, and they make harsh decisions based on an experience that they had growing up that they are now not experiencing, but actually might be quite normal to the rest of us living in those communities in terms of just who we are or how we speak or how loud we shout or don't shout, you know, and just some of those environments. And I think we should always think about how we can ensure that prevention in those cases is very much at the fore of these conversations as well. But coming to the policy issues specifically, coming into care presents so many challenges for children, young people and their families. The lived reality for these families is something that many of us can't understand because it is so foreign from the lived experiences that we know ourselves. We need to acknowledge this while also working hard to ensure that there is greater parity between the lived experiences of all children in Ireland. While early intervention and family support are critical in this way, there will sadly always be circumstances where children will need to be cared for out of home. And so we have a collective responsibility to ensure that the state provides the best alternative care possible to these children. The first area is the importance of data collection, which has been mentioned, and analysis in respect of children in care and young adults in aftercare. We simply do not have access to enough data regarding the unique experiences and outcomes of individuals that are care experienced. How can we improve services, policy and legislation if we do not know the full extent of the problems we are trying to solve? In 2009, the Ruane report called for a longitudinal study to be undertaken on the experiences of young people in care and aftercare. While data collection has improved in the meantime, we have been waiting for too long for action on this recommendation, and I know that you, Minister, are awaiting a report from a working group established to investigate the best way to collect, follow and analyse the data, and I look forward to seeing real progress being made in this area in the new year. The second issue I wish to address is the provision of therapeutic support for children in care. The reality is that most young people that come into care are likely to require therapeutic intervention, but young people often don't receive the interventions they require in a timely manner, and at other times they don't receive it at all. Social workers, foster carers and parents regularly have to battle to ensure that a child can get access to therapeutic support, and in my view this needs to change. Social work areas should have access to these sorts of supports in-house, and every young person in the care of social work area should have the opportunity to avail of them. Having in-house teams of specialists would ensure continuity of care for children, while also allowing social work teams to garner therapeutic insights to inform their work with individual children and families. A model exists for this in Dublin North Central social work area, where there is an in-house therapeutic hub. This model should be replicated around the country as a priority, but if it's the case that we can't provide these services in-house in the short term to medium, we should ensure that children in care have designated pathways to access specialist service within their respective local health area. The third issue I would like to bring to your attention is the need for independent advocacy for parents that are engaged with TUSLA. This is something very close to my heart. I brought an amendment on it, I think, in the first year to the adoption legislation in 2016 around the lack of dedicated social worker, particularly for the parent who has seen their kid go into care. And that amendment also required TUSLA to have to signpost parents in the direction of support, especially if later in life they're then going to seek a High Court judgment to remove parental rights of a parent without consent. So social workers try their best to step into this role, I know, but the reality is that the dynamic between parents and social workers doesn't really allow for it. The system that parents have to interact with are really complex. The language that they need to decipher is often inaccessible. The relationships that they have to maintain are atypical and often fraught with tension. Parents need and deserve access to support of their own that can help them to navigate these complexities. We also need to take account of the individual circumstances which can contribute to each family coming to the attention of TUSLA. Supporting parents in this way can assist them in making the positive changes required to resume care of their children, but it can also help them maintain healthy relationships with their children. We must ensure that in supporting children we do not lose sight of the importance of supporting their family. The last issue I wish to address is the area of aftercare, which could form a topic of discussion in its own right. As I'm sure we can all agree, early adulthood poses many challenges, but just think about trying to navigate this critical life stage while unpacking the baggage that comes with being care experienced. Aftercare workers provide critical support to young people as they navigate this transitional life stage, but unfortunately not all care leavers have their own allocated worker. While drop-in services are provided for those without an allocated aftercare worker, this cannot replicate the benefits offered by the continuity of a relationship with a supportive adult. What's more is the quality of services being provided around the country is inconsistent due to the varying capacities of aftercare teams in different regions. Advocacy groups for children in care and care leavers such as EPIC have called for age of eligibility for aftercare to increase to 26. In the event that this is not achievable in the short or medium term, I would call on the Department to at least consider expanding the age of eligibility to 23, irrespective of whether a young person or not is enrolled in education. At the moment, we have a system where young people not enrolled in education lose access to their aftercare support at the age of 23, when in many cases it's these young people that require the most support. Like all forms of housing at present, there is a significant undersupply in aftercare accommodation. The issue is so pronounced that many care leavers have no choice but to engage with homeless services to identify suitable accommodation. While the Capital Assistance Scheme has been a really welcome development in recent years, the demand for accommodation in this scheme far exceeds the supply. We need to see a strategy developed to address this issue, specifically to ensure that no care leaver finds themselves without a stable and secure home. Before concluding, I would like to express my solidarity with all care experienced individuals, their families and foster families, and acknowledge the work of all those dedicated to ensuring that children and young people with care experience achieve their full potential and live happy and healthy lives. Finally, I wish to acknowledge the work of the Department and the work that you're already undertaking, Minister, to address these issues and concerns I've raised this evening. And I know that making improvements for children in care and care leavers is a priority for you, and I look forward to working alongside you to achieve progress in this area. Thank you.